So I'm talking about the age and
reiterate
that you need to take your cues from the horse.
and taking the cues from the horse.
Hi, I'm Lori with Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary, and this is part of our behavior education series. I want to talk about what age is appropriate to start a young horse in training, and the answer is really you start training a horse the minute that you start going hands-on with them. Because every interaction you have with the horse, you're teaching them something and they're teaching you something. But as far as when you're going to start training them for riding, you're not actually physically going to be riding them and expecting them to hold lots of weight and do strenuous riding activities until they're about 7 years old. But there's lots of preliminary things that you can do before then. Their bones are not fully mature in their adult form until they're 7, and their spine are the last bones in their body to mature. So what can you do with a baby horse until they're old enough and strong enough and their body's mature enough to be ridden? Well, there's lots of things you can do. You can teach them to be habituated to people, meaning you can put them in an environment where they're watching lots and lots of activity, but they have a way to get away from it if they get scared or if they want to. So I usually put them in a big pasture or a big paddock that one end of it is near lots of activity, like near the barn or near where we're going to be doing a lot of work, so that they can see all the stuff that's going on or even see other horses being ridden. But if something bothers them, they have the space to get away and take a break from that activity. The other things you can do are start teaching them to be touched all over, and you want to make that a positive experience for them by either finding places where they really, really, really like to be scratched, or by giving them treats as you touch them. You can also teach them how to wear a halter and how to be led. You can teach them groundwork exercises like leading, halting, stopping, changing directions. You can teach them to wear blankets. You can start putting saddle pads on their back. You can start to get them used to what tack looks like. I have old saddles and bridles that I'll just throw in their paddock with them. They can investigate it on their own. They can step on it. They can chew on it. And then they're not afraid of the items. And so then what we can do as they're growing up is start to touch them with those items, or start to set those items on their body. We're not going to ride them yet. We're not going to put a saddle on them and saddle them up yet, but we can let them wear it. We can put it on their back for a few minutes at a time and let them see what that feels like. You can do all sorts of stuff like that with babies and young horses. And then around the time when they're about 5 is when I really start upping the ante, and I'll actually start having them wear a saddle and bridle while I do groundwork exercises with them, while I'm doing the leading exercises, maybe while I'm cleaning their feet, while I'm taking them for walks, while I'm spending time with them. They'll just wear a saddle and bridle and get used to it. And then when they're between 5 and 6, I'll usually start teaching them to stand for mounting. And that means that I teach them either to stand in a certain location or stand at a mounting block while I step up and down that mounting block, and they're taught that they shouldn't move. And I'll even get above them and start teaching them what it's like to see things from this angle, because a baby horse isn't used to seeing a person up here behind their head. I might get on and off the horse. I might slide on one side of the horse and slide off the other. I can do a lot of stuff without actually riding the horse until they're old enough to be ridden. The other thing that I want to mention that's really important is when you're training, you want to take your cues from the horse about when the training should be finished. So she is a baby. She's 5 years old. Today is the very first day that we have worked with her on any kind of formalized training whatsoever. And it was important for me to watch her demeanor so that when she started getting more antsy and she started nibbling more and she started ignoring me more and I started getting less responsiveness out of her, that I recognized that she was probably mentally cooked, that she was done, that that was enough for one day. And that's going to vary from horse to horse. Some horses might only be able to train for 1 or 2 minutes, and then your session's done. That doesn't mean that later in the day you can't go back and train for another couple of minutes or 5 minutes. Some horses might be able to do longer training sessions, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes. Obviously, as they mature, they're going to mature mentally as well as physically, and they're going to be able to do things and engage with you for longer and longer periods of time. But that doesn't always mean that you're not going to run into an older horse who's just done for today. We all have days where we're just tired and we're mentally finished, and the horses have those too. So we need to make sure that we recognize when enough is enough and they're telling us that they're done with training and they need to be left alone for a while. We need to observe any conflict behaviors, and we need to know when to back off. Conflict behaviors might be biting or kicking, might be trying to flee from us. It might be starting to move excessively into our space. It might be starting to nibble on us or chew on other things or chew on the lead rope. It might be head tossing. We want to recognize if any of those things escalate during a training session, that we're making them uncomfortable, or they're done with training and mentally they've had enough and it's time to do something simple that they know how to do. Give them one final reward to end on a good note and put them away.